Hello, my awesome second graders. Today for math, we're going to do a little bit of review of our clock and learn a few more things about writing time and other ways that we can show the time. So, first thing up, we have a quick review of some of the terms that we use. So, first thing is the minute hand. It is the longer hand that moves more. Just as what I drew right here is the longer hand. Same as on my Judy, it's the longer hand. And we notice that it moves a lot more than that hour hand does. The hour hand moves very slowly, the minute hand cruises right around. So it's the opposite for the hour hand. It's shorter and it's slower. I show it right here pointing to the 2. And it moves much, much slower because one full rotation of that minute hand makes that hour hand only go to the next hour, which would be 3 o'clock. And we also know that 60 minutes is equal to 1 hour. So today, we're going to be working a little bit more with writing time. So, the time that I have up here on the board, let's take a look at it. We notice that the hour hand's pointing to the 2, and the minute hand is pointing up to the 12. But we learned yesterday, and I'll bring my Judy back out, that when our minute hand is up here at the 12, are we at any minutes? You're right, we're not. Because our first set of minutes is at the 1 hour mark where it says 5. That's your 5-minute mark. So up here, I like to call it the o'clock or the OO as a good way to remember it. So when you write it, it looks just like this. We could write it several different ways. We could write it this way. It is 2 o'clock. Sometimes we see that. That's how it's written. Another way, you could replace the 2 with the number 2, right? 2 o'clock. Or we could write it this way, and this is much more common. Our first number is the hours, followed by 2 dots. The 2 dots separate the hours from the minutes. And when our minute hand is pointing up here to the 12, we're at the OO. We got no minutes. So we are at 0, 0. A lot of friends, I've seen this before, they'll write it like this. And I get why they do it. Why do you think they put the 12 there for the minutes? You're right. It's because it's up here, but those are the hours. You gotta think about what are the minutes at the 12 mark. And there are none. So, let's review what it looks like going around the clock. So we're right here at the 12. And we just wrote this time down on my board as 12:00, 12 o'clock. But that time is going to change when we start moving around the clock. So when we make the first jump, our minute hand is at the 1 mark, or how many minutes? 5. So, how would we say this time? There's a couple of different ways. A lot of people will write it this way. But it's how we say it now, right? We all say it as 2:05. It is 2:05 p.m. But that's not how it looks on here, right? Some people might say 2:05, and that doesn't quite make sense. We say it 2:05. All right. The next one, when we jump another 5 minutes. Oh, look at that. Everything's all kind of covered up now, right? The hour hand is covered by the minute hand. But don't let that mess you up. You know that hour hand is right below it. It's no longer 2:05. What is it? You jumped another 5 minutes. Now we're at 2:10. Another way to say it is 10 past 2. It's 10 past 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Because 2 o'clock is right here. And when we say 10 past, it's 10 past that hour. So it's actually 2:10. So we have 2 different ways of saying it now. We could write it this way. Or we could say 10 past 2. Kind of another interesting way of doing that. And then we can keep going around the board. I'm not going to keep writing it because that's taking a bunch of time. We're at 2:15, 2:20, 2:25. Down here at the 6 mark, which is the, 30 mark. And then 2:35. There it is, 2:40, 2:45, 2:50, 2:55. And then we jump to the next o'clock hour, which is 3 o'clock. We don't say going from 2:55 to 2:60. It's like regrouping. You just regrouped a 60, which is actually an hour. So now it is 3 o'clock. All right, we're going to hop over to our books. We're on the 2B section of our math books on page 134. So go ahead and get that out. We're going to learn about some other ways on how we can say the time. All right. Get my book over. There we go. So we just reviewed, this is the page before now. We just reviewed going around the whole clock. Each hour that minute hand is jumping to is an additional 5 minutes. And that's how we count our way around the clock to know how many minutes that minute hand is at. So this is exactly what I just did. I'm not going to go through it again. But I do want us to focus in on this page right here. So you can use the numbers on the clock to help skip count by 5 starting at the 12 mark. Remember, that's your 0 mark for minutes. So right here, we have our hour hand at the 8, the minute hand at the 12. We know that that is 8 o'clock, just like we did on the board behind me. 5 minutes later, we jump 5 minutes. The minute hand is now at the 1. We can say it's 5 minutes after 8 o'clock. Or we can say 8:05. Both are correct. So we can jump big time. So when we jump 40 minutes, all right, we got to do some skip counting. I'll get my pen. So starting at the 12, we're going to count by 5s up to 40. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. This clock shows 40 minutes after 8 o'clock. So it was 8 o'clock, now it's 40 minutes after or 40 minutes past 8 o'clock. So these questions we're going to do together, and then the next, we're going to do these questions right here, and then the page after this is going to be on your own. So let's do these ones right now. Find the missing number. Skip count by 5s to help you. All right. So we're showing 8 o'clock. Oh, there we go. Showing 8 o'clock right here on this clock. We want to know how many minutes later it is and how many minutes after 8 o'clock. Okay. So we see our minute hands at the 4. I know from before we need to count by 5s. So 5, 10, 15, 20. It is 20 minutes later. Another way of saying it is 20 minutes after 8 o'clock. Let's find the missing number. Skip count by 5s to help you. Okay. Now we want to know how many minutes after 10 o'clock. So now we have a new clock. It's not showing us the before clock at 10 o'clock. So let's see where the minute hand is. All right. Well, looks like the minute hand's over here at the 3. If it was 10 o'clock, that minute hand would be up at the 12. So we're going to skip count by 5s to get to the 3. All right. Let's do that. 5, 10, 15. So the answer is 15 minutes after 10 o'clock. All right, we're going to do number 3. It's the same idea. How many minutes after 10 o'clock? Well, we can see that the minute hand is pointing at the 10. The hour hand is almost at the 11, but it's still not quite there. So it's still 10 o'clock. So this minute hand has done a lot of running around. So if it was 10 o'clock, this minute hand would be back over here at the 12. And I can actually do that on my Judy so you can see it. So if it was 10 o'clock, we'd be right here. Right here. But our clock on there is showing this time. Right here. Okay, so let's get back to 10 o'clock and let's skip count by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. We are at 50 minutes past 10 o'clock. It did a whole bunch of jumping around, didn't it? So, that is 50 minutes after 10 o'clock. Don't get tripped up by this hour hand. When we start getting to that side of the clock, it gets a little tricky. Just take your time with it. Think about the hour before, what the actual hour should be. And lastly, we're not going to do this one on paper, but if we were going to be showing the minute hand 20 minutes after 4 o'clock, they have the hour hand on here, you would be writing this minute hand pointing to the 4. And 55 minutes after 8 o'clock, we would be pointing up to the 11 because that's the 55 mark. And when you count around, you'll end up at the 11. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. All right, let's take a quick peek at the next page. I'll read out the questions for you. This is what you're going to be doing for work today. Look at the minute hand, then write how many minutes after the hour it shows. So this one, how many minutes are we at? You're going to have to count, starting at the 12, by your fives. You'll get to your minutes. This one as well. Find the missing number. Skip count by fives to help you. How many minutes after 5 o'clock? So think about what the clock would look like if it was at 5 o'clock. So you're skip counting to figure out how many minutes that minute hand is pointing at. And the same thing for this one. How many minutes after 8 o'clock? Again, you're going to be thinking about that minute hand being back up at the 12 and then skip counting until you get to where your minute hand now is. We're not going to be doing these two. We will be doing some writing time activities, just not from our book. Okay? All right, second grade. Good luck with this today. You got it.